2.4 million years ago. Discover the incredible journey of Homo habilis in heartwarming survival. Alex held the smooth, cool stone in his hand, feeling its weight and the whispers of time coursing through it. This wasn't just a tool. It was a lifeline connecting him to ancestors who had walked this earth when survival was a daily battle. The story behind this simple heirloom sparked a fire in him, igniting a curiosity that felt almost overwhelming. What had it been like for them? Struggling against nature, just like his family fought to keep food on the table in their small, rural community as he sat on his worn-out porch. Watching the golden sun dip below the horizon, he thought about his grandfather. A veteran, weathered but strong, whose every wrinkle bore testament to hard work and perseverance. Always keep your head up, Alex, his grandfather would say, and remember, every challenge is a chance to learn. Those words rang in Alex's ears as he contemplated their daily struggles, bills piled on the kitchen table, the worry in his mother's eyes. Over the next few days, Alex poured himself into researching Homo habilis. He discovered how they crafted tools to survive, how they worked together as a community. This resilience, he realized, mirrored his family's fight against the hardships of life. The more he learned, the more he felt an unshakable bond with his roots. Yet, he couldn't escape the stark reality of his present. In his town, the divide between rich and poor felt like a chasm. His best friend, Sarah, had everything he didn't. A stable home, new clothes, and dreams larger than their dusty roads. Their friendship was starting to feel like a tightrope walk, each of them teetering between understanding and misunderstanding the other's world. Before he could process it all, news hit like a thunderclap. Their beloved local diner was on the brink of closing. It wasn't just a business. It was the heart of their community, a place filled with laughter, memories, and shared struggles. Alex couldn't stand by. Inspired by the spirit of survival he learned about, he decided to rally everyone for a community fundraising event. He was determined to bring hope back into the hearts of his neighbors. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. With flyers in hand, Alex's heart raced. He could almost feel the energy of his ancestors driving him forward. But as the plans unfolded, obstacles cropped up. Supplies had to be gathered, money was tight, and doubt crept in like an unwelcome guest. Just when they were about to throw in the towel, Alex learned something that would change everything. A reclusive neighbor, who had previously been the subject of whispers and judgment, had once been a successful business owner. His story was rich and layered, filled with struggles that mirrored their own, illuminating what true community meant. With the event approaching, Alex stood before a gathering crowd. Would they rise up together? Would they confront their insecurities and past misunderstandings? As he looked into the faces of neighbors, some supportive, some skeptical, he was suddenly struck by the weight of it all. Would their efforts create a bridge across their differences, or would the fractures in their town remain? The warmth of his family's love and the fierce spirit of survival echoed in his heart, but uncertainty loomed heavy. The room was thick with anticipation as Alex stared at the crowd. Faces filled with curiosity, concern, and hope, mingling like the aromas from the diner's famous pies. The chatter faded as he cleared his throat, the weight of his mission pressing down on him. He clutched the flyer tightly, feeling the cool paper against his palm, a tangible reminder of all he was fighting for. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice quivering slightly. "I know times are tough, but this diner isn't just a place to grab a meal. It's where we shared our stories, our lives. It's part of who we are." He scanned the crowd, searching for familiar faces among the uncertain. Homo habilis didn't just survive because they had the best tools. They thrived because they worked together. A murmur rippled through the audience. He caught a glint of recognition from Sarah, a small smile breaking through her initial uncertainty. He felt emboldened, remembering the resilience of those distant ancestors as if they were right there with him. But they faced challenges far greater than ours. He pressed on. They didn't give up. They adapted, learned from one another, and shaped their destiny. If they could do that, can't we? For a moment, he believed he saw the cogs turning in the minds of his neighbors, the ghosts of doubt fading. But then a voice broke through the haze. It was Mrs. Thompson, the town's elder. Her eyes narrowed. And what if we fail, Alex? What if we gather, we fight, and it all comes crashing down? A hush fell over the crowd. Alex's heart stammered. Everything felt heavier now. What if they did fail? The fear of failure was a familiar shroud, slicing through his enthusiasm. Failure, he began, letting the word hang in the air. Failure means we tried. It means we didn't give in to hopelessness. He shifted, finding strength in his words. Every one of us has scars. They're reminders of battles we fought and survived. It's how we grow. If we unite, we can face whatever comes next. He looked around, searching for connection, for understanding, hoping to dip into that well of shared experience. Slowly, he saw the flicker of acknowledgement, heads nodding, murmurs of agreement rising from the back. Sarah stepped forward, her voice strong, blending seamlessly into his. Let's rise up together. We need this diner, this community, and we can save it if we stand beside each other. Encouraged by her courage, Alex's resolve strengthened. The burden felt lighter. So many stories woven into the fabric of the town, just waiting to surface. What would happen if they all poured a little of their heart into this? What blooms could come forth from the soil of shared struggle? Suddenly, a young boy at the front raised his hand, shyly asking, "Can I help?" "Yes," Alex exclaimed, his smile brightening the room. "Everyone can help. Together, we'll raise funds, gather supplies, and bring our diner back to life." As he spoke the words, seeing the yearning to help fill the eyes of the crowd, he felt something shift inside him. Hope unfurled, vibrant and alive. Maybe this event was more than just about saving a diner. It was about saving their community, about bridging gaps and restoring lost connections. The buzz grew louder, excitement crackling in the air. They were on the brink of something beautiful. But as they began discussing plans, a loud crash was heard outside. Everyone turned, tension rising like the ocean before a storm. What could have caused such a disruption? Alex's heart raced as he wondered. Was this an omen or a challenge to conquer? The door swung open, revealing an unexpected, shadowy figure standing in the twilight. The room fell silent, all eyes glued to the stranger, and for Alex, everything felt like it hung in the balance. Would this encounter push them forward or pull them apart? The stranger stepped into the diner, silhouetted against the fading light. The air hung thick with uncertainty, breaths held tight. Alex squinted, trying to make sense of the figure's features. Was it a friend, a foe, or simply a lost figure seeking warmth in the waning day? "Who are you?" Alex finally called out, his voice steadier than he felt. The figure took a step forward into the fluorescent glow of the diner. The crowd leaned back slightly, instinctively inching away from the unknown. The stranger's face was obscured by a dark hood, giving him an air of mystery that fueled nervous whispers amongst the patrons. "I'm here to help," the stranger said, his voice low and gravelly. "But you have to listen carefully." Confusion mixed with curiosity, compelling several faces to edge closer. Alex motioned for the crowd to remain calm. "Help us? We're just trying to save our diner," he explained, his hope mingling with skepticism. The figure nodded, the hood shifting to reveal the outline of a weathered face. "This place is more than just bricks and wood. It's a symbol of your community's heart. But to save it, you need to understand the history embedded in this town. You need to face what haunts it." Puzzled looks exchanged amongst the crowd. "What do you mean?" someone asked from the back. "What is haunting our diner?" The stranger seemed to consider his next words carefully. "People have forgotten the stories, the struggles, and victories that came before. Remember the legends of this town. They are your strength. Do you know what happened when the original diner was built? Alex felt a stirring in his chest. The history, yes. He had always loved the tales passed down through generations, like the one about how the diner had been a gathering spot during fires or floods, a beacon of hope amidst chaos. But more than that, it was a thread connecting them, binding their past to their present, and perhaps their future. My grandfather used to tell me about a time when this diner brought the town together to help a family that had lost everything. Alex recalled, his voice rising with excitement. They arranged a fundraiser in just a week. Everyone in town pitched in. Yes, the stranger affirmed, a small smile breaking through the depths of his shadowed face. Remember that energy, harness it. You need to evoke those stories. They will breathe life back into this place. Inspired whispers swept through the diner, rekindling sparks of hope. Alex could see them beginning to picture it, a community unshackled from cynicism, pushing back against despair, reclaiming their ground. "What do we do?" Sarah exclaimed, her eyes shining with optimism. "How do we find that energy?" "Start with your own stories," the stranger urged. "Share them, lighten the burden. Remind each other why you're here." The flame of unity lights up when the stories are spoken. A charge pulsed in Alex's veins. Yes, those memories, those elements were key. He imagined the diner buzzing with voices, laughter, the clinking of plates, all coming together, resonating. But just as the energy built, the stranger lifted a finger, and his expression turned serious again. "But be warned, the past holds not just joy but pain. Some stories are dark. They may surface, and when they do, you need to be ready." A wave of uncertainty rippled through the diner's patrons. What kind of darkness lay beneath their seemingly idyllic surface? Was this pod of unity at the cusp of a breakthrough, or on the brink of unearthing old scars? Filled with apprehension, Alex glanced around, locking eyes with Sarah. "Are we ready?" he whispered, the moment suspended in the air, and as the stranger prepared to share more, a chill swept through the room, as if the night itself held its breath. What awaited them on this exploration of their collective history? Was the community truly prepared to face the shadows that might emerge? The atmosphere in the diner swayed, as if the walls could feel the weight of the crowd's uncertainty. Alex felt a mixture of excitement and dread churn in his stomach while he tried to read everything in the stranger's shadowed gaze. There was a burden there, a deep well of experience, and perhaps even sorrow. "Each story you tell will bring you closer together," the stranger continued, lowering his voice as if the walls were eavesdropping. "But it will also unveil memories that have lain dormant for too long." Alex took a deep breath. "What do we need to do first?" "Start with a story," the stranger urged, stepping closer. "Yours or someone else's. Let bubble up. Remember, stories are like fire. They can warm you, or they can burn if not handled carefully." As Alex pondered, he felt a nudge beside him. It was Sarah, her eyes sparkling with determination. "I'll go first," she announced, the words bursting forth before she fully realized it. The diner's attention pivoted toward her, the nervous chatter hushed into a palpable silence. With a quavering voice, Sarah began, "When I was a kid, my family had hard times, real hard times. I remember the summer it rained nonstop. Everything flooded, even our home. But this diner was like a haven. The owner, Mrs. Henderson, opened her doors and fed families. No one turned away. We huddled here, sipping coffee and pie, sharing what little we had. I remember that kindness, the laughter that always seemed to rise above the sorrow. That's what community means." A soft murmur washed through the diner, a mix of admiration and nostalgia. The warmth of her memory wrapped around them, and for a split second, Alex could feel the heartbeat of their town pulsating in the air. The stranger nodded, a flicker of pride lighting his expression. "See, you started something. It's in the sharing," he said. "Now, who's next?" Alex's heart danced in his chest as he saw others leaning forward, eager to dive into the well of shared experience. One by one, they took turns, revealing layers of hurt, hope, laughter, and love. Old men spoke of summer picnics, mothers recounted tales of sacrifice, and children shared dreams of the future. But with each story, the stranger's warning echoed in his mind. The shadows of their history were certainly there, lurking beneath the surface. Did they really want to uncover the darkness alongside the light? As the memories flowed, one old voice rose above the others, breaking through the warmth that had taken hold. It wasn't just joy in this place. There were losses we never talked about, things we buried deep. Mr. Jensen, the town's retired historian, said, his voice shaking slightly. There were accidents, feuds, betrayals. Those stories, they can't be ignored. An uneasy silence followed. Alex felt the weight of that truth hanging in the air. It was like a gust of wind had broken the warm spell, chilling the group with its iciness. Gathering courage, Alex broke the silence. We all have shadows. Maybe they help us see the light better. Maybe facing what's hidden is the only way to really heal. His words ignited hesitant whispers among the crowd again. It was raw and vulnerable. Suddenly, the diner door swung open with a jarring crash. The crisp night air rushed in with a rush of movement. A woman stood there, drenched and breathless, her eyes wide with fear. Help! There's an accident on the highway. We need everyone. Fear crashed over the diner like a wave. The warmth of connection faded in an instant, replaced by urgent adrenaline. Alex exchanged glances with Sarah, and together they felt a swell of resolve within them. Let us go, he shouted, pulling the crowd into motion. But as they rushed out, one big question loomed larger than life. Was this just the beginning of their collective story, or would they now be confronted with old ghosts they weren't ready to face? The group surged forward into the night, the cold air snapping at their faces and filling their lungs. Alex felt the rush of adrenaline sharpen his senses. In the chaos, he glanced at Sarah, whose determination brought a calmness to his racing heart. They weren't just friends anymore. They were comrades, bound by the urgency of this moment. As they reached the parking lot, their breath visible in the night air, the distant sound of sirens cut through the darkness like a knife. Alex realized that a life was at stake. He could only imagine the fear and uncertainty waiting just down the highway. Get cars moving. We need to spread out, Alex shouted, rallying the group. Some dashed to their vehicles, while others began shouting for anyone who could help. The diner's connection, so magical just moments ago, transformed into a web of action and intention. Sarah found him again, her face set in fierce determination. We can't just sit back. We should lead the way, help out however we can, she urged. Nodding, Alex grabbed her hand. Together, we can do this, he said, a promise woven into his voice. They climbed into Sarah's truck, her hands gripping the wheel tightly. Moments stretched as they drove through the town, headlights cutting through the darkness. Alex felt the hush of worry settle over them like a dense fog. He thought of the stories he shared in the diner, the wounds that surfaced and the love that flickered among them. They were all connected, yet the stark reality of the unknown awaited them as they finally arrived near the highway. The scene unfolded like a nightmare. Emergency lights punctured the night, casting an eerie glow on the asphalt. The wail of sirens mixed with the low murmur of gathered onlookers. It was chaos, with medics rushing, people crying, and the sharp tang of fear hanging in the air. Alex could feel his heart pounding, each beat echoing the urgency of the moment. He spotted Mr. Jensen, the historian, directing traffic and shouting instructions to keep onlookers at bay. In that moment, he wasn't just a man burdened with history. You could see his heart in his effort to protect their community. Let us help him, Alex yelled to Sarah. They jumped out and ran over, joining the fray. The sight of a crumpled vehicle made Alex's stomach twist. His mind raced with thoughts of the families waiting for news, of the lives forever altered. Over here, a voice called, and a medic waved them over. We need support. Redirect those people. Control the crowd. Both Alex and Sarah dove in, focused on what needed to be done. Help me keep them back, Alex yelled to a few other volunteers. They formed a makeshift barrier, their hearts pounding in unity, standing tall for those affected. As they worked, Alex caught glimpses of familiar faces, neighbors, friends, each of them processing their own worries, yet pushing through the chaos together. That S when a cry pierced through the night, sharp and desperate. "Help! I can't find my father." A young girl stood at the edge of the crowd, eyes wide and filled with fear. Alex felt the horror settle over him again, but this time something snapped inside him. He leaned into Sarah, their thoughts aligned. "Stay here. I'll find her dad," he shouted over the noise, determination fueling every step. He moved into the throng of clamor, searching faces in the vibrant light, his chest tight with an urgency that pulsed through him. But as he pushed deeper into the chaos, another realization struck him. This accident wouldn't just unveil the town as fears. It somehow opened a door to deeper stories clinging to the heart of their community. Would he only find a missing father, or would he uncover shadows that tied back to the origins of their relationships, the truths they had yet to face? The night was just beginning, and the answers lingered, waiting to unfold. Alex wove through the crowd, each step heavy with purpose. The murmur of voices surrounded him, punctuated by the cries of fear and confusion that pierced his heart. It felt like the world was spinning so fast, yet he was somehow moving in slow motion, hyper-aware of every person surrounding him, that he spotted the crumpled vehicle, its metal frame twisted and broken. Underneath the red and blue lights, he could see the police and medics working tirelessly. Every second felt like a lifetime as he fought to stay focused on the girl's plea. He couldn't shake her frightened face from his mind. "Sir, have you seen a man in a blue jacket?" He called out to a paramedic, hoping for any clue. The medic shook his head, urgency on his face. They had bigger issues to deal with. Alex nodded, understanding their priorities. Yet a fire ignited within him. He couldn't just abandon the little girl. He pressed through the throng, searching for her father. Each face he passed became a potential lifeline. "Excuse me, have you seen a man with dark hair?" he asked another onlooker. Their eyes widened, but they just shook their heads, lost in their own worries. Just ahead, he spotted someone kneeling down, a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair, head and hands. Alex felt a tug in his gut. He approached slowly, kneeling beside him. "Sir, are you okay? Are you looking for someone?" The man looked up, his eyes glazed over with shock. "My wife was next to me in the car. I can't find her." His voice trembled, shattered and pained. "I'm sorry," Alex whispered, the weight of the moment crashing down on him. He squeezed the man's shoulder in an effort to provide comfort, but his own heart ached for the girl who was still out there. He had to keep going. He stood once more, scanning the area, scanning every face, every expression. The fear in the air clung to him, saturating the atmosphere with anguish. He had always believed that helping one person could have a ripple effect, but here, the magnitude of despair felt overwhelming. "Alex!" Sarah's voice broke through the chaos. She weaved her way towards him, her expression filled with urgency. "I found her. I brought her to the ambulances." Relief washed over him. Instinctively, Alex felt a rush of hope. "Where?" "Right this way." She took his hand, pulling him with her. They dodged people and flashing lights, the tension rising with every step. When they reached the row of ambulances, the little girl stood crying, clutching a blanket in her small arms. Two medics were crouched beside her, offering comfort, but she wore a look of emptiness that made Alex's heart ache. The moment he laid eyes on her, his chest felt tight. "Hey there," he said gently, kneeling down to her level. "I'm Alex. Where's her dad?" Her tears flowed freely. "I don't know," she choked out, her tiny voice barely a whisper. "Okay," he replied softly, glancing at Sarah, who was right by his side, determination in her gaze. "We're going to find him. I promise. Can you tell me what he looks like?" The girl nodded, sniffling. "He has brown hair, and he wears glasses. And he was in the car with me," her voice faltered. Alex swallowed hard, the weight of her words pressing down on him. He shared a worried glance with Sarah. This wasn't just about one person anymore. It was about a family torn apart in an instant. Sometimes the hardest part of life was knowing where to look for hope when shadows closed in. As they began to search again, A shift came over the crowd, something that felt electric, like a deep breath held too long. Alex sensed it. Something had to give. But what if the answers brought more questions? What if finding her father led them to face darker truths than they had ever imagined? And with every beat of his heart, he wondered, should they be prepared for what might be unveiled? Alex's heart raced as he navigated the chaos, his mind a whirlwind of concern and urgency. The little girl's soft cries echoed in his ears like an alarm bell, pulling him deeper into the storm of emotions swirling around him. He cast an anxious glance back at Sarah, whose face was set with determination. They both understood that time was slipping through their fingers like sand, and every moment counted. "Stay close," he whispered to the girl, who watched him with wide, frightened eyes. She nodded, still clutching her blanket tightly, as if it was all that anchored her to safety. They moved away from the ambulances, weaving through the crowd that seemed to grow denser with every step. Each face flickering past him reminded Alex of the importance of connection. A desperate search for a missing loved one could feel isolating, but here in this pain, surrounded by so much heartache, they were all linked by a common thread, a need for hope, a yearning for reassurance. Suddenly, Alex stopped, spotting a flash of movement on the periphery. A woman was pushing through the crowd, her eyes wild with desperation. In that moment, Alex felt a surge of instinct. That could be him, he breathed to Sarah, who was already following his gaze. "Hey," he called, making his way toward her. The woman turned, eyes wide, her breath hitching as she locked onto him. "Have you seen a man with glasses? Brown hair?" She pressed, clutching her phone, as if the mere act of holding it could summon her husband back into view. "Yes." A little girl was just Alex stumbled over his words. He had to calm the urgency coursing through him. "She's waiting right over there." Relief washed over her face, and she nodded, her lips trembling as tears spilled from the corners of her eyes. "Oh God, please." She started to move, but Alex reached out. "Wait." He paused, trying to read her expression. "Are you sure he was in the car?" "Yes," she exclaimed. "He was picking her up from practice. I was stuck at work." Her words faltered, overtaken by a wave of emotion. As she spoke, Alex's mind raced ahead. What if her husband was hurt? What if they found him in worse shape than they feared? The sheer weight of it felt as heavy as the world pressed against his chest. He instinctively placed a reassuring hand on the woman's shoulder. "Let's go together." With renewed purpose, they began moving toward the ambulances. Each step felt monumental, the air thick with uncertainty and dread. When they arrived, the little girl looked up, her face brightening momentarily at the sight of her mother before it fell again into confusion. They all crowded closer, forming a small circle of shared anguish. "Can you tell us what happened?" the mother asked gently, brushing away the streams of tears on her daughter's face. "I don't remember," the girl whispered, clutching the blanket tighter, her innocence battling against the harsh reality of the night. Alex glanced at Sarah, who nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. They were running out of tiny glimmers of hope. Every second stretched and breathed the tension of unknown possibilities. He took a deep breath, determined to stay steady. "Let us keep looking," he urged, fueling their small group with courage. But even as he spoke, a gnawing doubt began to claw at him. What if they didn't find him? What if the unfolding tragedy was already deeper than any of them could bear? Suddenly, a shout came from the fringe of the scene, sharp and breaking through the chaos. "Over here! We need help!" Alex's heart jolted painfully in his chest. What now? Who was it? Could this be the moment they'd been waiting for? Voices began to overlap, confusion spiraling. "Stay close," he urged again, guiding the little girl back to her mother's side, feeling the charge of fear swallow him whole once more. If they were close, then what lay ahead could change everything for better or for worse. And with that echo of sound, hope morphed into tension, leaving Alex wondering if this was the breakthrough they desperately needed or another twist in a cruel game fate seemed to be playing with them. Alex's heart thundered as he tightened his grip on the little girl's small hand. He could feel her tiny fingers trembling, and it reminded him of the overwhelming uncertainty that clouded the evening air. The crowd surged around them, a shifting tide of desperate faces, each individual lost in their own personal nightmare. But now, something was pulling him forward that a cluster of emergency responders was gathering just ahead, their voices loud and urgent against the backdrop of murmurs and sobs. "What have you got?" one shouted, motioning to a nearby stretcher as they worked furiously. The frantic, almost rhythmic motion of their efforts barely gave Alex room to breathe. "Please," the mother cried out, her voice breaking through. "That is my husband. Please let me through." As they approached, Alex's pulse quickened. His instincts told him that they were close to a revelation, good or bad. He looked sideways at Sarah. Her eyes were wide with anxiety, mirroring his own thoughts. They were both holding their breath as they maneuvered closer, their little group yearning for anything that might come next. "Mommy?" The girl's softer voice cut through the tension, pulling the mother's eyes back to her daughter. "I'm scared, oh." Sweetie, the woman knelt quickly, pulling her daughter into a tight embrace. "It's going to be okay. We're here together." But how false those words felt, Alex thought. He could feel the air thick with fear, suffocating hopes. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the far end of the street, causing everyone to jump and look over. Amidst the chaos, a sudden shout of man's voice rose above the crowd. "I need backup here. We've got multiple casualties." The weight of the moment shifted as a new wave of fear washed over everyone, minds racing with possibilities. What if this was worse than they imagined? Alex's heart sank deeper at the thought. But before he could spiral into despair, a paramedic broke free from the crowd, wheeling a stretcher into view. "Help us here." The words were sharp and immediate, snapping Alex to attention. His eyes darted to the man on the stretcher. Could that be him? Every heartbeat felt like an eternity as Alex scanned the familiar features of the man before him. "Is that?" The mother gasped, her breath catching in her throat. "Is that him?" As they moved closer, the shadows played tricks on Alex's eyes, and he struggled to see through the red and blue flashing lights reflecting off the pavement. The man was unconscious, pale, and covered in blood. Fear twisted in Alex's stomach. This couldn't be right. "Keep calm," a paramedic said, working quickly. "We're taking him to the hospital." Tears streamed down the mother's face as she held her daughter tightly. "Is he going to be okay?" She choked out, desperation coloring her voice. Alex stood frozen, clutching the girl's hand tighter as he watched the scene unfold. Inside him, panic was morphing into a surge of resolve. He had to know the truth. He had to help. "Wait," Alex called out as the paramedics began to pull the stretcher away. Is he? But even as he spoke, the shout of another voice echoed, just behind him. "Alex." "Sarah." They turned to see a familiar face pushing through the crowd, a friend, someone they hadn't seen in so long. Was this the connection they needed? The hope to guide them through this night? The rush of relief washed over Alex, but questions danced wildly in his mind. Why was he here now, at this moment? And would he bring answers or more uncertainty? As footsteps rushed closer and voices intertwined in a frantic murmur, Alex realized this could be the turning point. But would it lead them to salvation or push them further into despair? "Alex." "Sarah." The voice cut through the chaotic murmurs like a beacon. Their old friend, Mark, emerged from the crowd, his face tight with worry but relief sparking in his eyes. "Mark," Alex called out, stepping forward, dragging the girl and her mother along. "What are you doing here?" "I was in the area," Mark replied, glancing between them and the stretcher moving away. "I saw the commotion." "Is that?" Before Alex could answer, the girl's mother wailed, her voice rising above the noise of the crowd. "Please, is he going to be okay?" Desperation twisted in her tone, pulling at Alex's heart. Mark's expression darkened as he glanced toward the stretcher, then back at them. "What happened?" He pressed, his voice steady but urgent. "It's her husband." Alex gestured toward the mother, who was now trembling violently. "We don't know yet." Mark stepped closer, ready to offer support. "Let us find out," he said firmly, taking charge. "Stay close to me." Alex tightened his grip on the little girl's hand. "Please stay close," he whispered to her, feeling the tremor of her fear. "We'll get through this." As the crowd parted, they hurried towards the nearest ambulance. The noise dulled slightly, replaced by the sharp scent of antiseptic and the frantic energy of medical teams working tirelessly. Lights flashed against the growing night, bathing everything in a chaotic glow. Alex felt the weight of urgency settle over them. The mother noticed a paramedic outside a different ambulance, his uniform stained with more than just medical supplies. "Excuse me," she shouted, desperation creeping back in her voice. "Is he in there? My husband?" The paramedic looked at her, eyes softening. "We're doing everything we can. He is stable, but I can't give you any more details right now." Tears filled the mother's eyes. With a shaky hand, she reached for her daughter again. "We need to go to the hospital," she whispered. Alex felt the tremor in her voice. Mark nodded. "We'll stick together." He looked at Alex, then pointed toward the hospital parking lot. "Let's get there and find out what we can. Together." As they rushed toward the vehicles, Sarah leaned into Alex, her small frame shaking against him. "What if he doesn't wake up?" she murmured, her eyes wide and glistening. Alex knelt down, meeting her gaze. "Hey, look at me." He locked eyes with her, fighting to remain calm. "We're going to be brave. Whatever happens, we're all together, and that matters." She nodded, but didn't seem convinced. As they approached the hospital entrance, the atmosphere shifted. Neon lights flickered inside, and the air smelled of disinfectant mixed with the human need for hope. Alex's heart raced again as he navigated through the sliding glass doors. Waiting rooms were filled with anxious families, their faces a mix of fear and fatigue. The ticking clock on the wall seemed louder than anything else. Time lost its meaning here, each tick reminding them of the uncertainty waiting in the shadows. Minutes felt like hours as they settled into the waiting area. Exchanging glances with Mark, Alex's heart raced at a steady, ominous rhythm. "Were the odds he'll be okay?" he finally asked, voicing the dread that churned in his gut. Mark shrugged, uncharacteristically serious. "I wish I knew, man. All we can do is hope." Hope's such a fragile word in times like this. But just then, a doctor in scrubs entered the waiting area, his face tired yet resolute. He caught sight of the mother and her daughter. "Are you family of Mr. Johnson?" A wave of tension rippled through the room. All eyes turned to the doctor, and in that moment, Alex felt a rush of fear and expectation merge violently within him. What would the doctor say? This was the moment they had all been waiting for, and it could shatter everything. "Please," the mother begged, her voice barely above a whisper, "tell me he is going to be okay." As the doctor began to speak, hope flickered and dimmed in the silence. The doctor cleared his throat, the weight of their gazes pressing down on him. "Mr. Johnson is stable. He suffered some injuries, but he is receiving the best treatment," the doctor said, his voice measured and calm. Relief washed through the waiting area, a collective sigh escaping from the lungs of everyone gathered. For a moment, it felt like the shadows of despair receded, just a bit. The mother's eyes filled with tears of relief, and she pulled her daughter into a tight embrace, her shoulders shaking with sobs that mingled joy and sorrow. Alex felt the knot in his stomach start to loosen. They had weathered the storm. Maybe there was hope after all. But even amidst this surge of emotion, the doctor continued, aptly aware of the finely balanced line between hope and despair. "However," he said, a note of seriousness coloring his voice, "the next few hours are critical. We need to monitor him closely. I recommend that you stay close by." The anticipation of worries hung again in the air like the aching memories they had begun to share in the diner. Yet this moment, the relief mixed with the unfamiliar tension, sparked something inside Alex. He turned to Sarah, her face illuminated by a faint smile breaking through. "We did something good tonight," he whispered, and there was a certainty in his voice. As they moved closer, the mother nodded, expressing gratitude through tears. "Thank you for helping. All of you. I don't know what we would have done alone." Alex felt warmth bloom in his chest. They weren't just helping her anymore. They were families, communities, and friends woven into a tapestry built from shared experiences. It reminded him of Homo Habilis, their resilient communities joining forces to survive. Emboldened, Alex raised his voice just enough to reach the corners of the waiting room. "Why don't we share more stories?" he suggested. "We came together for the diner. Let us keep that spirit alive. We need to honor those connections." A ripple of murmurs washed through the families waiting, a nervous energy breaking the tension. "I can go first," Mark said, stepping forward. "My grandfather worked at that diner when it first opened. He told me how they once hosted a fundraiser to support a family that lost everything to a fire." He began, igniting sparks of nostalgia in the faces surrounding them. One by one, voices rose, encouraged by Mark's lead. They shared tales of laughter, of burden, of loss and triumph that seemed to intertwine into one beautiful story of resilience and connection. Every laugh, every tear shared chipped away at the weight lingering over them. Alex leaned against the wall beside Sarah, a smile creeping onto his face with each story that unfolded. Together, they were remembering. Just like his ancestors had, they were facing the darkness together, while also embracing the light of their shared experiences. Among the tales, snippets of joy and grief intertwined, creating a patchwork of their town's history. It turned the hospital waiting room into something more a haven where once shared struggles turned into heartfelt connections. And as the stories flowed, Alex felt that deep sense of purpose he had first ignited in the diner growing stronger within him. At some point, Alex realized they weren't simply sharing history anymore. They were building their path forward. They had faced uncertainties together at the diner, in that crisis on the highway, and now here in the waiting room of the hospital. Maybe they could face anything. Tears of joy brimmed in the mother's eyes as she held her daughter close, whispering the stories back into existence. Alex could feel the warmth in the air as lightness began to settle. Their struggles had drawn them together in an incredible journey they had never anticipated. Suddenly, the door to the treatment area opened, and the doctor stepped out again. "Mr. Johnson is awake and asking for his family," he said, and the waiting room erupted in joy. They rushed toward him, the family reuniting in relief and gratitude. The bond forged through this night of darkness had transformed everything, drawing them closer than ever before. Alex and Sarah stepped aside, arms wrapped around each other, watching as the light of resilience burst through the heavy fog of the past. This community had fought hard, and they had come together. They were stronger as the evening faded into dawn. A realization washed over Alex. Survival wasn't just about enduring hardships. It was about genuinely connecting with one another. It was about sharing struggles and recommitting through genuine love and heart. "Let us keep this going," he said softly to Sarah, who nodded eagerly. "Together, we can build something beautiful here." "Yes," she replied, her smile radiant. "Let us keep sharing, keep fighting. We're just getting started." This was just the beginning of their journey. The community's rebirth, a testament to the enduring spirit of human connection. The stories they held close would lead them not just to survival, but reconciliation and hope. They had each other, and so much more awaited them beyond this night, waiting just on the horizon. Now, dear friends, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our healing journey as a community. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this transformative ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, we can spread hope and connection.